what I've learned now, and we're dealing in the fascia system, is that what we need to do is we need to get to the root of the problem. And the reason that we use the tools that we do, the Block Buddy and the Block Baby, they're both made of bamboo, is because bamboo and bone are similar in density, and fascia will grip to bone with a force up to 2,000 pounds per square inch. And that's what's blocking blood and oxygen flow to cells and really driving the aging process. So we needed to figure out a way to truly get to the root of the bone, of the issues, in order to create a change in the body. So there's three components that are pillars to block therapy that make it successful. The first one is creating space, then inflating space, and maintaining space. The first two, we're really going to tie in when we're on the towel together this morning. So the very first one is creating space. So gravity drives our body down toward the earth, and we age in a forward rotational direction. We don't just compress linearly because we're dominant on one side of the body. So as we're aging, we develop these adhesions because we're starting to tip off balance. So these adhesions, again, block blood and oxygen flow, as do scar tissue from injury or surgery. So wherever we're at in the moment at this very time in our bodies, we have an accumulation of adhesions and scar tissue, which is really promoting the aging process in the body. So with block therapy, we literally are melting through these restrictions. We are creating space, and there's a space-time continuum. Typically, as we go through time, we become shorter in the body, we decrease in our terminal space. As we use block therapy or other fascia decompression, fluid isometrics is the technique I initially developed with my hands. Block therapy is the self-care version. As we move through those layers, we are literally putting the space back into the body, taking the time out. And you're going to experience today when you get on the floor with the towel with that. So the second pillar is inflating the space. And this is really this foundational piece of block therapy that is so paramount. It's really understanding proper diaphragmatic breathing, because as we fall into our space over time, the rib cage will become locked and it will block the diaphragm's ability to move properly. And pain, fear, and stress over time cause us to reactively hold the breath. So most people, of course, are living in a pretty stressful state these days. So no wonder a lot of people are not breathing fully and completely. We're breathing through the muscles of the upper chest. And I always refer to the diaphragm being like the furnace of the body, compared to breathing through the muscles of the upper chest is like a space heater. And our bodies have become really cold and frozen. So with block therapy, we melt through the adhesions to create heat, to create flow in the body. And we can feed the body up to 6 times the oxygen when breathing diaphragmatically. And it's not as though we're pulling that much more air into the lungs. It's because we're bringing the air deeply enough into the lungs to reach where the majority of the oxygen receptor sites are, the alveoli at the base of the lungs. And then there's also a study done in 2014 in Australia, shared through the medical news, that proved that 84% of weight loss comes through proper exhalation. So to really understand how to use this muscle and free it from the fascial adhesions is truly a game changer in our health and well-being. So this is how we're supposed to properly be breathing. The belly should be rising with that inhalation and falling with that exhalation. And again, we're going to be really tapping into this when we get on the floor with the towel. And then the third pillar is maintaining spaces, understanding proper postural foundations. So we train 3 foundations in the body. The first one is the lower body foundation, which we refer to as rooting. The second one is the diaphragm, the actual act of working this muscle, because that diaphragm muscle is the foundation of the rib cage. So if it becomes weak from a lack of use, the weight of everything above it collapses into the body, which will cause everything from a belly extended to issues with organ function and even stress on the heart. And then the third one is the tongue muscle. So the tongue muscle in part is designed to support the weight of the head. And I remember watching a Dr. Oz episode when he was saying that the head weighs approximately 10 pounds, but when not aligned, it can put up to 100 pounds of force to the muscles of the upper back and the neck. So to learn how to properly align the tongue and strengthen it will help to support proper alignment for the head and the neck as well. So I just want to share with you a couple of changes that people have made with this process. This is Gary Sharp. He's been in my community now for 2 years. He has a website called Outthinking Parkinson's. So when he initially reached out, he felt that this might be something that would help him. And he had to go very slow because he was very toxic from all the meds he was taking. So over the course of 1 year, you can really see the changes in his alignment. So this is quite paramount because he's having such tremendous results with block therapy, even though he's taking it very slowly. You can see the space that he's creating in his body from this process. And I just want to share with you a testimonial that he wrote. This is just a few weeks ago, because last month I added in a hair health class into my membership to really remove the scalp from the skull to improve blood and oxygen flow, not only to the hair, but to the brain, the eyes, everything up through here. So he said, has anyone else tried the hair health class? Amazing. Apart from improving hair health, I think this is going to be a vital class for neurological problem and for addressing issues such as brain fog. I got one of those hot flushes when doing it, which tells me it is doing something powerful. My mood was much brighter after doing it, and I slept better than I've been. I'm going to do it daily for a week and see. My scalp is currently pretty much glued down to my skull, and my intuition is that this is a major part of the reason for my neurological issues. Somewhat hard to grab onto clumps of hair with a bald spot on top, but I will monitor this area for hair growth. So here's his update. I have now been doing the hair health class daily for about 3 weeks, not really for the hair, but because I figured that having my scalp glued down firmly and tightly to my skull wasn't helping my neurological condition, Parkinson's disease. Since starting it, I have had significant symptom relief, less pain, less dystonia in neck, less brain fog, PD meds working better, less side effects, work quicker, extended effects. However, my hair has certainly improved too. It looks shinier, and I have a couple of unsolicited comments that my hair is looking nice, which serves as a sign that the process is definitely working. The scalp on the sides and back of my skull is definitely starting to glide under my fingers and is not just completely super glued to the skull now. I always use this degree of glide as a self-assessment that the process is working. I have a bald area on the top of my head, and I notice when I press my fingers into it, it feels waxy and feels like ice is being applied to my skull, indicating to me that the bald areas may in fact be actually where the fascia is more significantly problematic. So that was just a fantastic shift for Gary. And now we're going to move on to Zenon. So this is probably my most favorite before and after photo. I started with Zenon. He was 6 years old, and he had severe scoliosis, and he was told that he needed to be in a brace for up to 18 hours a day, and that by the time he was a teenager, they were going to need to fuse his spine. He also had a CRE1 malformation as well as syrinx, and his tonsils were 7 millimeters in 9. Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry. They were larger than they were supposed to be anyway. So they were wanting to do surgery. So we had him. And what was really exciting about this, when I first met his mother and father, they figured that the reason for this to have happened to him, because it seemed to come on very quickly, was that he started doing archery, and they live in a yurt in Northern Ontario. So, this kid, just like for hours a day, he would be doing this move with the bow and arrow. So I had them basically starting the process of block therapy to decompress and really focus on the legs, because what we do here is we address cause sites. And the lower legs and feet, I have learned over time, are major cause sites in what's causing the entire body to get pulled into negative fascia patterns that affect everything up the chain. So he was working through his full body with block therapy, and I had his mom specifically working a lot more on his calves to add a lot more melting in that area. Then I also had him practice with the bow and arrow on the opposite side so that he could continue to pull his body back into proper alignment. And very exciting, just 3 weeks ago, he came back from his appointment with the neurologist, and they were blown away. He does not need the surgery. So just very excited. And he's now, he's 7.5 now, and he's already shared he's going to be a blocker for life, and he's going to be part of our Block Therapy Academy for kids. And then we have another testimonial here where we show Connie Keeler. She did our 90-day challenge. And I was just so extremely excited for Connie, because one of the things she shared is that her hips, elbows, and arms had really improved, and block therapy had done more in the 90 days than a whole year of physiotherapy. She also just felt more amazing in general. She was able to in the lake. She was paddleboarding. She was able to get up on the paddleboard much more efficiently without any pain. She's extremely happy with her size and shape. Her belly changed a ton. Everything's functioning better, and she just feels calmer